One. So as expected, sign back there. Anyways, so as expected, the Fed cut rates a quarter point, kind of what we've been talking about. But when I did a bunch of reading this morning, something bothers me. I want to share it with you, and then kind of see what you think. Right. So first off, with the quarter point cut, the press release and the announcement after, it turns out that our chairman Powell, Jerome Powell, wanted to be more aggressive. He actually did not vote for the quarter point. He wanted a half point cut, which is something we talked about a couple weeks ago with, thinking that the economy is slowing more than expected, the trade war, Europe, all of that stuff. We actually talked about that on this channel, that half point might be what's needed, which is pretty interesting when you go back and watch some of these videos and watch how the days tie together to see that Powell kind of was on that talk track, which again, I could see how he would look at it. Where I have a problem with it, and where I wanted to share with you, is in his kind of 1 hour, press announcement after, where he took questions, he tries to make us feel like everything is okay, right? He talks about unemployment staying below 4% throughout 2020. Interesting. He talks about manufacturing maybe not being as big a problem because now we're moving to a service-based economy. He talked about the yield curve and why its inversion maybe not be what it used to be given negative interest rates in Europe and all of that. So he had answers for everything, which when you take his answers individually, you're like, okay, right? The economy is good. We're still growing. We expect 2020 to be, still positive growth, 2%, as he says. But then you step back and say, hey, he wanted to cut by a half. So I'm left with thinking, what is he seeing in that meeting with other Fed governors where he wanted to cut rates by 0.5%, right? Be bold, come out. And the only things I could come back to are a couple of fold. One is maybe he is feeling the pressure of being called out and being called a whatever, and he just kind of wanted, kind of enough is enough. That's one. I certainly hope that's not the answer. I would hope our independent, whatever that means, Fed chairman has a strong enough backbone where he's not intimidated by, tweets and all of that stuff. So let's hope that's not the answer, but maybe it is. If so, the other Fed governors will come in, and that's why you have multiple voting on this. So that's interesting. The other one is he is seeing a tidal wave of problems coming from overseas. And this is what I think it is, right? I think he's starting to see, Europe is not nearly as strong as people think it is. He sees Asia slowing down, and he's trying to protect the U.S. economy and make sure that we continue growing in 2019 and through 2020, which he is very interested by. But I just find it really odd, right? We have unemployment below 4%, which he projects throughout 2020. He sees manufacturing, a problem, but overall employment solid. He sees, the fund rates, the cost of capital staying low. But again, he wanted a half point cut. That, I don't know what it is that bothers me. That the chairman wanted a half point cut, only got a quarter. Is that kind of politicking so that he can do another one later? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't know about you. What do you think? Right? Jerome Powell wanted to cut by half. We only did a quarter, as we've kind of been calling for a week now together. Why do you think he wanted a half? What do you think the reason is? I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, because maybe I'm missing something. I do think Europe is in trouble. I think that that whole region, right, with Germany now probably in a recession, the UK in a recession, we're going to maybe be importing some of that. We're going to do another one of these live casts here in a moment because I got a whole bunch of data from this morning, but I wanted to talk about the Fed first. So please let me know, what do you think? Why did the Fed only cut a quarter when the chairman wanted a half. Why do you think that is? It's interesting. It's and then the next question I have for you, I'd love to hear how many more cuts do you think we have in 2019? Do you think we're done? Do you think we have one more, two more? I think there's three more meetings this year. So what do you think? All right, everybody, take care and stay tuned for my business update. Thanks.